As promised, here is your articles and speeches video, or articles and talks if you prefer. Now, the last paper was on music. This paper, we have no idea what it's going to be on. That means that the talks and the articles they ask you to write could be on absolutely anything. So there is no way to prepare for the topic matter. What you can prepare for is the structure of it. So these are my 4 tips to structuring an article, aside from what I already put in my original video. First, have 5 main paragraphs alongside an introduction and a conclusion. So in total, technically, you'll have about 7 paragraphs, but the intro and the conclusion are usually much smaller. Use a bold main heading to grasp the attention of your audience. The intro then follows straight after it. Pack it with techniques that will appeal to the audience that the title of the question recommends, and always use subheadings to divide your paragraphs. This is what separates a talk and an article, is the way you structure it. So at the top here, I've got the bold heading, the importance of your free time. It's very straight to the point. It does what it says on the tin. This is what my article is about. Then I've got the intro. Like many people our age, are you finding your time is limited? Notice how I am linking to our age group. So I'm saying about a teenage audience. Now, obviously, being a teacher, I am not a teenager, but for this article, I would have to pretend to be. In the same way as you're sat in a room, you may think, oh, no one my age actually cares about this topic, but you have to pretend that it's the most important thing that has ever existed, okay? Notice then how I've gone on to use a rhetorical question as a technique. That's always a good fallback option, but please don't overuse them. They can be overused, and it's very easy to do so. In fact, I've got 2 in this part at the moment. I wouldn't necessarily say it was a terrible thing, but I would say it may have been a little bit overused. Between the demands of exams and the wants of our families, wouldn't it be nice to avoid it all and just get away for a bit? To get you started on your journey to relaxation, here are some ways I've found to change your mindset and become a new person. So I'm directing the article in the direction that they're wanting me to, and I'm also making it appealing, I hope, for a teenage audience. Notice how then I've got a subheading, make more me moments. Not only is this a subheading, I've used a technique there as well, which is alliteration. I've made it so I can constantly be increasing my volume of techniques in the article to start getting into that band 5 and being able to use them in a purposeful way. This just sounds catchy, okay? And then I've got a technique down here, which is statistic. A work-life balance is hard to achieve, especially when 78% of us feel pressure to work in our downtime, according to a recent study. You can make these statistics up. No one is going to look at your research and check whether or not you've said something correctly. The importance of it is that you are using that technique. So you're absolutely fine to lie. I'm not going to be researching, and neither is any other examiner. Okay. So this is the main thing that you should focus on when it comes to writing articles. Again, if you can squeeze in any advanced punctuation as well, such as semicolons, colons, dashes, and so on, please do so. In the other bit, the speech, I've used a semicolon in there, and I'll show you a quick way of being able to use them too. So in terms of a talk, there are 5 main paragraphs alongside an intro and conclusion. Same kind of thing, okay? Exactly the same kind of structure, but notice there's no heading and subheadings. If you want to, you can use a heading for a speech if you wanted to start off with that, but it's not necessary. People don't use headings for speeches when they speak them in real life, okay? 2, begin by setting out why you're wanting to make this speech in as exciting a way as possible. Don't start off by saying, I am here to talk to you today, because it's very boring and it's going to make your speech the same as everybody else's. 3, pack it with techniques that will appeal to the audience it recommends. And 4, use paragraph links to structure your talk. And what I mean by that is what I'll show you in a minute. So loss of free time is the biggest contributor to burnout in the history of mankind, ellipsis. So why are we still making the same mistakes over and over again? I'm passionate about the importance of our downtime, and I believe it isn't just limited to the people in this classroom, this area, or this country. It should matter to the world. Notice how I've used a semicolon there. Now, if you're not sure how to use them, they connect 2 similar sentences quite often, and you can use them instead of a connective. But a really easy way of using them is before, however, alongside a comma after it, if you're using however in the middle of a sentence. You can get away with using a semicolon before the word however, and then using a comma just after it, as long as you're using however in the middle of a sentence. It's a very easy way to include a semicolon. On the topic of mistakes, imagine you had become overwhelmed with work like the majority of us, and you felt you had nowhere to turn. Imagine this took over your life and caused you to lose out on memories, experiences, and relationships. Let it be known that this is the exact situation we find ourselves in as teens in 2023. Notice how I'm using paragraph links. I just talked about mistakes in my opening, the biggest mistakes in the history of mankind. And now I am using it to bridge my paragraph, talking about past mistakes and how we need to rectify them for the future. Then I've used techniques all the way through. Imagine. So I've used my repetition here. I've used my tripling down here. I've used an ellipsis and led it into a sentence to sort of link those points together. I've used a semicolon up here to make my talk look sophisticated. All of these things contribute to a good talk. Now, although talks are meant to be spoken, the written talk is still an exercise in using good punctuation, grammar, and structure. Okay, and this is what I would aim to do when you're writing a talk. So I hope that's been useful for you. Please have a look at my first video on Unit 3 if you think you need more help. But other than that, I hope that's been useful, and I will see you soon.